Aye.
Let's call the Finance Committee meeting to order at 5:01 PM on Monday, April 6th.
I'll call the select board to order at the same time. Thank you.
Right. Do we have minutes to review?
I'll move to approve the minutes of our last meeting. I'm sorry, I don't remember the date.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous, 500. All right. What else do we have? So I think actually, we would normally do public comment at the meeting, but we need to stall for a minute or two. Does anybody, would anybody like to make public comment? Would any of y'all like to say anything? Yep. Okay. Please keep it to 2 minutes or less if possible. Yep. Thank you.
Once again, Jeff Upton, Hillcrest Ave. And there's a lot of misinformation running around about the senior center. Number one, I support seniors in their effort to secure a senior center, but things are not adding up. This building and Sunderland building were both being reviewed at the same time. I remember very well sitting in a meeting here, and the finance committee chair asked to also have this building included in that review. So it's not like this is being done in the dark of the night as far as this coming on board. I've run some numbers here very quickly, and again, there's too many unanswers. There's just too many questions that are unanswered to even get into this. But $120,000, when I sat in the meeting a couple nights ago with all three towns, they said that was a base rent. It comes out now that it's actually $167,000 per year, not $120,000. I ran those numbers, I can give you those, so I'll keep it short though. A 10-year lease on that building at $167,000 comes out to $1.8 million. A 15-year lease comes out at $2.52 million. A 20-year lease comes out at $3.36 million. That is without the compounding escalating 2.5%. That's just flat base 167. Also, if that includes the remodeling, what happens if you're 10 years out? Does that mean that if you only do a 10-year lease, all your $300,000 to $500,000 is remodeling is already paid for? If you don't do a 10-year lease, then you do a 15-year lease or a 20-year lease at the same price? Aren't you paying above and beyond on the remodeling? That's very confusing to me. If you can pay the remodeling off in 10 years on a 10-year lease of $300,000 to $500,000, with still a lot of questions, why would you pay the same price for 15-year and 20-year lease? It does not make sense to me. So new one. You would have to do another.
It depends on the lease, and the lease hasn't been structured yet. So obviously you wouldn't pay more
Well,
than.
that's what I'm saying. Trevor, what I'm saying is there's too many unanswered questions yet. And those numbers are huge to me. Also, the building over there is 3 stories high. You've got an elevator. We've learned a lesson over here at the library with the elevator. So we've got to keep that in mind. And there's other issues with the building too. So thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Any other public comment? Nope. Anybody online? Nope. Okay, let's go to the South County EMS budget. That one is that one the same as what we have in our books? Okay. So that's in section 10. And And so we should have a SCEMS payroll, a SCEMS enterprise fund, and a SCEMS totals sheet. Yes. All right.
Do you need one? A couple here. I don't know why I got this book. It's maybe I had yours. I don't know. I got an enterprise.
This is the 323.
I'm just sitting here looking at the SCEMS. So the SCEMS total sheet, the Deerfield assessment is 518,861, up from 414,995.
Oh, yeah, 518,861.
So that's a
Do you want-
25% increase.
Can we make a photocopy of this? Oh, yeah. That's it.
Okay, I guess let's start with the SCEMS payroll page. Anybody like to make a motion? No?
What'd you say?
Would anybody like to make a motion on the SCEMS payroll page?
Move to, oh, okay. I'll move to recommend the sum of $1,688,501 for SCEMS payroll account 603.
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay.
Same motion for the select board.
I do have a question. Is that the correct account number? In the past, the SCEMS account has just been called SCEMS. And it seems like 603 is an odd one to be in the section 10 of the budget.
Yeah.
So that's the fund number. I thought it was more appropriate to at least put the fund number in than just the name. So it's fund number 603 on our
Fund
books.
with a
Fund.
D? Okay, thought you said it was just a fund.
A fund number. No, not a
I
fun,
get it.
fund number.
It's a fun number. Okay,
I would have put a better number, 603.
anybody have any questions or comments? Josh is online. Josh, do you want to make any comments? You talked the other night on this, but.
No, thank you, everybody. I certainly said my piece the other evening at the combined meeting, but happy to answer any questions if it comes up.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it looks like the big increase is the medical insurance. And then the overhead went up some also, which we talked about the other night. The indirects, sorry. Go ahead.
The insurance is up $40,000. That's
Yeah.
the bigger chunk of it.
Yep.
Medical insurance.
Yeah. Any questions or discussion?
Josh, yeah.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Is there any plan to expand on FTEs, the number of FTEs in the department? Do we expect any proposal in the coming year? Yeah, I'll have.
So, yeah, thank you for the question. I know if you're asking about the number of FTEs, there's always the possibility of restructuring within the department. But no, the number I anticipate will stay the same.
And this is the same number of people as you had last year?
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Go ahead, Margaret.
I would, just a question on funding, on the revenue side. The member towns have relied on some retained earnings each year. to offset the cost to operate SCEMS. Given that you anticipate creating a capital stabilization fund, what portion of retained earnings would you expect to give back to the towns to help subsidize their annual costs moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'd like to do this year is establish a capital stabilization fund, essentially in name alone, with no contribution given to it. I think we're, as a department, going to be in a good place for the next couple of years insofar as capital equipment. So we've got two brand new ambulances, one already and one slated for arrival in July. Knock on wood. So that's going to put us in a good position where we can defer it by a year. But I want to get the fund established so that we have the year to work on a capital improvement plan. So I guess ask us again in a year, right? The goal is to make it so that retained earnings can still help subsidize the budget as they have, maybe slightly less than they have in years past, but we won't have to move forward with appropriation for giant ambulance purchases or things like that.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody? All right, we have a motion on the floor for SCEMS payroll only at 1,688,501, which is a 5.67% increase. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, that was unanimous. I don't need to do the rest of that.
All those in favor for Select Board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye.
All right, next page, SCEMS Enterprise Fund. You have a motion?
Make a motion to recommend SCEMS Enterprise Fund account number 603 in the amount of $241,710.
Second.
Same motion for the Select Board?
Second.
Any questions on this one?
Josh, the amount budgeted for fuel in 2026 was $16,000, and in FY27 the request is $14,000. Are you confident that this amount will be sufficient given fuel costs?
Yeah, it seems a little absurd right now, of course, to be decreasing a fuel budget. So I see the humor in it. But yes, so currently we're 3/4 of the way through the year and we've spent roughly half of the budgeted fuel line item. So even if there's a substantial increase, this should more than cover the cost.
Are the ambulances diesel or fuel? Or
Yeah, they're diesel.
they're diesel.
Any other questions? No? All right, so we have a motion and second for SCEMS Enterprise Fund for $241,710, which is a minus 0.4%. So it's a 0.4% decrease. All those in favor? That's unanimous.
All those in favor for Select Board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye.
Okay, and then we're going to flip back to the SCEMS totals page. which is the two line items that we just voted, but this brings in the revenues and looks, and gives us the sum total and the assessment to Deerfield. So do we have a motion for the Deerfield assessment?
Make a motion to recommend a Deerfield assessment for SCEMS in the amount of $518,861.
Same motion for the select board?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion or questions? We kind of already covered the big change here, even though the other two were not a big increase, is our overall increase is 25%, because we spent the retained earnings on an ambulance in the winter. So go ahead, Mark.
Just the usual, this is a lot to pay out of for, free cash. So I hope that we can address this structural shortfall soon.
That was my question. Comment.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous.
All those in favor for select board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye.
All right. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you for your time. Good night.
All right. 541-5420 senior center expense. So the one we have in our books is the one that includes the new building. Do we have a sheet for the old building?
Yeah, I think I have both.
Do I have a sheet for the old building? It was given out in the packet on March 23rd.
I have
that one.
March
That's a
23rd.
different, it's got the
Yeah.
sideways formatting. Do you guys all have that one?
Yep. No,
Okay.
I have a regular sheet from 323.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Yeah. Yeah. Jen, do you want to come up? Yeah, good. Thanks. It looks like we're going to be stalled out for a minute while we get copies, but you can get situated with a mic and stuff. So it looks like what we're going to do is put, this is my understanding, and y'all can correct me if we're wrong. We're going to put the senior center staying in the building it's in, put that budget in the municipal budget line item that we vote. And then there will be a separate article on the warrant, this is true, that will cover the increase that would be required to go into the 112 Amherst Road building.
Yeah, that's how the draft annual town meeting warrant is structured currently. Yep,
Okay. And the warrant closes this coming Wednesday?
it
Is
does.
that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So we expect that's what we'll see. Thank you, Holly.
So we currently, the way it's structured is we have that 22 Amherst Road budget in the omnibus budget article. And then there's a separate article for the senior center override that is proposed and a separate article for the SCEMS override that's proposed.
Thank you.
Is that pertaining to the draft article that you emailed me already? Or something different?
That's a separate article. Yeah, for the lease agreement. For the 20-year lease agreement.
Okay. I'm just asking because I didn't see any other articles come through to look at to see what was being submitted.
Yeah, so that there's the lease agreement and then there's the override questions. Yep.
Okay. So everybody has a copy. We're ready for a motion, I think, on senior center expense.
Make a motion to recommend senior center expense account number 541-5420 in the amount of, what is the new amount now? Is this the 140,000?
144.32.
Yeah, $140,432.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. Any questions?
Are
Go ahead, Beth.
Are all the towns doing the same thing? Like, are they all handling it the same way?
I think so. Yes. So Sunderland is going to have a Prop 2.5 override. They're going to have two, one for their base budget and one specifically for the senior center moving to the new building. I don't know what Whately's doing. Do you? I don't know that they need an override.
They don't
Right.
need an override.
Yeah,
Need an override.
right.
Are they voting the
They're
you kn-
putting in the 112 budget as asked.
oh, as their just like municipal budget
Yes.
line item? Okay. Alrighty.
I'm confused. Which location are we voting on? The,
So this budget does not have enough money into it to go to the 112 Amherst Road. So this budget would support them staying where they are right now. We're not going to, we don't have the language in the warrant articles tonight, so we won't vote the Prop 2.5 override until we have that. So it'll be next week, week after, something like that, before we vote that one.
well, we still need to vote the budget itself, right?
Right.
I think, I don't know, my personal opinion, we need to vote which building we want to go to and then vote the budget. That's the way I
So-
see it.
What's gonna be presented to the people at town meeting is the two options. So if they will vote the enough money to stay where they are, and then there'll be a second article that will give you the up down for moving to the new building.
Okay, so
So
that vote will happen.
yeah.
I just have hopefully a simple question on the warrant structure. So the omnibus budget article will appear based on a balanced budget. So we know that we can't afford the full amount for the Sunderland building. So the articles immediately following that, or the article immediately following that, would be to raise the additional funds subject to a Prop 2.5 override. Is that how it would be?
5 and 6, that's fine.
Okay. And
I'll let Chris answer that.
Yeah, and I know we do have a review of the draft warrant on the agenda, but it sounds like maybe we want to push that off till it's closer to finalized. But yeah, I will just say, so Article 5 currently is the omnibus budget. Article 6 is the override for the senior center. Article 7 is the lease term for the senior center. And Article 8 is the SCEMS override, if that makes sense.
is SCEMS going to be presented as a warrant article solely contingent on a Prop 2.5 override?
There's,
I'm sorry, no,
That's
okay.
center, but
and actually, sorry, no, I should clarify. So Article 8 is just the regular SCEMS budget. Article 9 is the SCEMS override. So it's the same pattern as with the senior center, where you have the base budget and then a standalone article for each one to do the omnibus, if that makes sense. I mean, to do the override, excuse me.
The difference is that the SCEMS budget, we have enough retained earnings
That's how we've been paying.
Have retained earnings. We have free cash.
Free cash, sorry. The free cash method that we've been following forever is there is money there to make the SCEMS budget work. In order to move to 112, we have to do an override so that we can preserve the budget reserves that we need to be on the safe side in case we have problems. So the override there is not because we don't have sufficient funds to fund SCEMS. It's that we need to fix the structural problem that Mark mentioned earlier.
Go ahead, Mark.
Can we actually do two budgets? Could we do a status quo and one with a new location? So that way, if the override does go through, we already have that other budget ready to go? Or are we going to have to reconvene?
No, we wouldn't have to reconvene the warrant article. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the idea is if on the Article 6 for the senior center override, if town meeting okays that and the voters pass that, then that's just built into your levy, and this body doesn't need to take any additional action at that point.
Well,
That makes
presumably we're going to have more than just the rent and the electricity, though. Like, I think janitorial is going to change, snow and ice is going to change. There's a bunch of things that are going to change, I think, right? So that's why I'm wondering if we should have two budgets ready to go.
So we vote the bottom line, like it's broken down for us, but how do I word this? They don't have to actually do what they say, right?
No, they don't.
We
they
just
don't.
vote the
Yeah.
bottom line. So when we vote the bottom line at town meeting for the override, that gives them sufficient funds to do everything they need to do to move into the new building. So the difference is the difference between the two budgets that they gave us.
It is, okay.
So it's
Yeah.
the rent and the janitorial and the utilities and, minus it. There's a couple things that go down. I think snow and ice goes down because they don't have to pay for it separate or something. So.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the reason why I asked you, I know that like we can't nitpick budgets, but
Yeah.
to be able to show a derivative of how we got there, I think would be good. So,
Yeah.
Whether that's us here right now in this meeting or if we've got that distributed at some point, plus we're probably going to want to compare that next year. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, no, go ahead.
Oh, just to answer, we did provide, the Board of Oversight of the South County Senior Center did provide a budget to move over. And
Okay.
so
The only one I have is the one that we're voting on.
So last week
Divided
we
up
got
into
handed
18.
two that are sort of sideways. Do you have those?
No, but
Okay.
we don't have to keep going.
All right.
If that was passed out, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that there was an actual draft of the other budget. That's all.
Yes.
There is,
Yep.
yeah.
Can we,
So-
can we clarify, what is the exact amount of money? What is the difference in dollars between the one that we're going to be voting on that we can support in our omnibus budget and the other?
Yeah, it's $103,253.
What is it again? I'm sorry, Chris.
$103,253.
All right, that's fine.
So, I
Yep.
was noticing that on the low budget, there's still a fairly significant increase for Deerfield. But looking at this, a lot of that seems to just come from a change in our assessment. Has the demographics of the three towns changed that much that basically all of the increase in seniors is here?
So the Board of Oversight went through months of going back over the census data for the past 30 or 40 years. We also looked at participation usage levels at the senior center, and everything broke down to be within the same, given a couple percentage points. Deerfield is at 54%, and Sunderland is at 28%, and Whately is now at 18%. And that was all voted on to be approved by all three town select boards after the Board of Oversight reviewed and moved that forward.
So what they did, they rewrote the MOU. The MOU used to
IMA.
say, IMA, sorry. It used to say Deerfield was 50%, Sunderland was 25, Whately was 25.
Correct.
And they rewrote that this year and we increased from 50 to 54. So part of it is an increase in the percentage. And that number is based on census data, so it will change once every 10 years. So when there's new 10-year census data, our percentage may or may not change, but might. So,
Thank
but another piece of it is we had carry forward funds for 3 years and this year we don't.
We previously did. When I came on board, there was probably around $20,000. I think we had that up at one point to $27,000. This year, we thought we would be carrying forward 18,000, but we didn't end up carrying that much. So we're doing, cuts amongst the different expenses we would have had. That might be extra where we can utilize grant funds that we currently have access to. So for the next fiscal year, there will be no carry forward funds. So that is another reason why, in addition to the COLA, that in the health insurance assessment.
Okay. So you spent more this year than last year. Is
Yes.
that?
Well, I would say, are we looking for fiscal 26? Yes, we're spending more than we had anticipated from fiscal 25 into fiscal 26 because our budget, we had to have it submitted in January, February timeframe last year. So we just ended up, some of the grants that we had received, they ended earlier, and some of the facilitators for some of the hybrid programming submitted their invoices post the grant close date. So we ended up utilizing some of the carry forward funds to offset that. But we are doing okay. We're looking at, we're getting reimbursements through the PVTA, through our MedRide transportation. We're also looking at our mass and motion grants that we currently have, and a couple other areas. So we're going to be fine. We're actually cutting like our office supply budget for this fiscal because we had ordered ahead the previous one. So, I'm really good at the fiscal management piece, and the staff's been really great at working on that with me. So yeah, the biggest issue is that during COVID, a lot of the funds weren't utilized for programming, so that money was kept. And then I believe the previous director left, so that saved some money for about 7 months of not having to pay a director's salary. And then when I came on board, I kept things tight for a while. And then we've been able to utilize that to expand programs and just to pick up space or, to help with staff offset. Because as you all have, as was approved, we increased our program coordinators' hours. We increased our outreach coordinators' hours. They're both at 35 hours per week now, which is helping to meet the demands at the center.
So this budget has increased a lot every year. So if you look back, I mean, this is a 32% increase. Last year was 18, the year before was 19, the year before was 17, the year before was 36. So we're having sort of year on year significant increases in funding. And last year, I remember talking about this, and the statement was that we were where we needed to be for personnel, and that we wouldn't see an increase this year in any hours, which we're not seeing an increase in hours, but we're still have a 32% increase in the.
So
Go for it.
So are we seeing in this request hours for the outreach coordinator and program coordinator rolling into the budget after having been funded through grants?
Yes. So while the reduction in grants was, so for example, our outreach coordinator had been up to 40 hours a week with grants. In 8 hours of that time, so let's go with 32 hours, was paid for by the town, and then the formula fund grant, which we got from the state, and 8 hours were paid from grant funds. When that additional grant fund ended, that person went down from 40 hours to 35 hours. So we went to picking up 3 hours a week instead of 32 hours a week. We're now at 35 hours a week for him. But some of those are also offset by additional grants. But the grant is a MedRide transportation grant through a partnership with the PVTA. So we can't guarantee that there's going to be the same hours every pay period, whatnot. So we're kind of ballparking based on what we've been utilizing for transportation this previous fiscal year, because this is a newer grant we put in for a second year going into fiscal 27. We're hoping it will happen. But so that's an increase there. But also my position was part-time back, back before in 2021 and 22. My position is now full-time. We also went from fully funding the program coordinator's position at 15 hours a week in the formula fund grant to increasing that hours to 35 hours, where it was initially covered by a grant for the majority of that time for 2 grants. And then last year, or this fiscal year, is when we rolled half of that salary into this operations budget. So all the grant funds that we've had available to us have been eliminated because we are also, instead of asking for more money for movement classes and program classes, I have found a ton of different grants that I have applied for and received. So those aren't reflected in this number. So while there's a $3,000 movement line item that hasn't been funded, we've been outsourcing grants, and the seniors have been paying a nominal fee for their movement classes. And then once we exhaust those, we start charging again.
So if I'm understanding correctly, we've not only seen an increase in hours reflected, we've also seen an increase in hours from certain non-benefited part-time to full-time or
Yes.
benefited positions because they exceed the 20-hour week threshold, right?
So we went from only having one full-time employee with benefits. That was the director position. So we now have 3 full-time employees with benefits. I'm at 40 hours. The other 2 staff are at 35 hours. And half of their salary is paid through the formula fund grant, and half of it is paid through the operations budget in front of you here.
I don't know that this needs to be said, but we've seen this happen before. I know the schools, especially during the COVID era, schools would have certain positions that would have been funded through grants, and then it rolls onto budget. Clearly, that creates a huge additional cost that's becomes the burden of the taxpayers in town. So it's not something, I'm going to speak only for myself, but it's not something that I like to see personally, because we know that when it's grant funded, we know that there is a risk that it's going to roll onto the budget and have to be funded by taxpayers. Sounds like it's already been done.
We already went through this discussion last fiscal year when we had this, when we went through this process. And we are not looking to add any more staff. We're not looking to increase hours. The increase has been half was funded through the state, that we get an allocation, $16 per older adult annually from the state. So we're around $48,000 a year, a little over that. And then, so half of it comes through this. So we're not increasing anymore. Previously, for a number of years, $5,000 or $5,100 was the dollar amount included for insurance. Also, if you look back to 2024, Deerfield's administrative overhead doubled based on me increasing grants to 15. Even though we've come down, it hasn't decreased by that much. So that was a big jump in 23 to 24, or excuse me, 24 to 25. It went from $8,400 a year to $15,900 a year. So that's like 100% increase, almost. So it's not just staff hours. It had to do with grant allocation and grant management.
Yep, that was in 24.
So a couple of things I just want to flag up. So from 24, employee benefits and retirement was $12,000. Under this budget, it's $41,338. And so I'm assuming that in those ensuing years that the amount of money that indirect cost has increased to deal with, 2 full-time employees, et cetera. And then there's also the line item of outreach, which is a $5,000 increase. I just wanted you to speak to that. Maybe you already have addressed it, but it wasn't explicitly stated.
That was where I mentioned the grant partnership with the PVTA for a previous grant that is no longer available. So we were offsetting $5,000 or so of the outreach coordinator's salary for that. Previously, that position was funded at 12 hours a week. And the program coordinator's position was funded at 15 hours a week. So that was not enough to meet the demand of the needs of the community. So I'd also like to share that I've brought in almost $500,000 in grant funds that were competitive to help offset and to benefit the seniors.
So you don't have the PVTA grant is gone, or is there
So there
there
are two PVTA grants. The first
Okay.
PVTA grant was where we worked to bridge the gap between both RTAs so that folks from Sunderland could go north and folks from the other side could go south. When
You're
that,
like right at the line between two
yes,
transportation.
correct.
Explain
So
that a little
the
bit.
PVTA will cover Sunderland and the FRTA covers Whately and Deerfield. Unfortunately, there's that invisible line over the river, so people don't go this way or that way. So what we were able to do is to offer transportation, get reimbursement from the PVTA for part of that, and then go to do the route on Tuesdays where our outreach coordinator was driving for the PVTA. Due
Yeah.
to the success of that route, they increased the hours. I believe it's now 12 hours. But when they wanted to increase it to 10, that was far too much for our person to be out of the office and to drive. So that's where we eliminated that. However, the MedRide grant, which was a different grant through MassDOT, where we can offer medical transportation going over that border to bring people in, who come to our center in the 3 towns only to go to a medical appointment in Springfield, Northampton, Greenfield, Amherst, wherever, they need to go within that area. So we're currently doing the reimbursement for that. So we'll, but because we don't know what the demand will always be, we don't always have an exact number, so that's why it's not reflected in this. But if we do, when we do get that reimbursement, that monies will be credited towards the operations budget, which is what the towns pay into. And since we're a special revenue fund, any monies left over will be carried forward to the next fiscal year and reduce the cost of the ask.
And so your expectation is the end of this fiscal year, you will not have any carry forward funds available?
No.
Okay.
This is sort of a question for Holly, perhaps. One of the things that I encounter when we discuss the senior center budget is that there are a lot of moving parts that don't seem to appear in here. So I assume that you, as the fiduciary, are aware of all the grants and their sources and how the money gets spent. Is that a correct assumption?
So yes, I certainly am learning the grants. I'm not super familiar with each and every one of them, but I do monitor all the payroll and the hours that go through and the grants that get charged through there. So yes, I'm certainly aware of the grants.
Go ahead, Jim.
This is kind of related. It seems like most of these, or a great many of these grants have a limited term. Would it be possible to like make that a bit more public about like this funding will go until this year and this funding will go until this year, so that when we're doing our budget planning, I think then that might
For future years,
yeah, that would give us a sense of, oh, okay, there's a bunch of stuff going to dry up in 2 years. Maybe we shouldn't be, expanding.
So I do put it in our annual town report, like what grants we do have. I do have a running spreadsheet that I share with the Board of Oversight on a regular basis, as to what grants we've received for what fiscal year. And if there's any carry forward funds on that. I guess I assume that the Board of Oversight members share information when asked.
Could you please share
Could you
that
share
with
it?
us?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Ew.
And I wasn't
Maybe
expecting
by
to be
next
up here
week or
today,
something.
otherwise I would have brought my laptop to share that information with you, but that is
Okay.
at the office. But just to let you know, We have $5,000 that'll end probably in the next month or two from the Wells Trust that was received for healthy living for older adults. We reapplied for another grant for the Fred Wells Trust, which is done by the Greenfield Savings Banks trustees. That annual number fluctuates. One year we received $4,800. One year I think we received $1,600, and last year we were lucky to receive $5,000. We currently have Mass in Motion funding, which we use to offset several items. We use that to pay for our seated dance class. The Wells Trust pays for chair yoga as well as our balance and motion class. Give me 1 second. The enhanced fitness class has a line item in our operations budget for the $3,000, and the seniors pay $2 per class. So whatever is, so the shortfall on their end gets covered by the operations budget. And if there's funding left over, that will go towards the next year. So we have to ask for less. There's also the other issue that we were looking at is looking how we could offset the program coordinator's annual salary from that dollar amount, because 2 hours a day, 3 days a week are spent going, between back and forth preparation and coming back and cleaning over there to come back. So that's about 2 hours, 3 days a week that they're spending over at the Whately Town Hall. So, it's like, so you could reduce either line item, but you'd still be pushing that forward for a carry forward for the next fiscal year. In addition, we also have marketing visibility grant through MCOA's service incentive grant in the amount of $10,000 that will end in June. We're currently almost utilizing that. We're currently sending out postcards to advertise the publicity of our draft action plan, or our action plan for our age-friendly and dementia-friendly work that we did. The previous year, we received a $20,000 grant for that particular work. Other than that, right now, grants are very limited. The two large grants that we received from the Executive Office of Aging and Independence, that was just under $220,000. We've already expended all of those funds. And then the Formula Fund grant is the grant that we get from the state annually, which goes under Fund 291. So Holly can, give you all of that. That's, we bill the other two towns for their portion based on population and what they would receive from the town or from the state. And I think right now that is probably it.
Is the formula grant calculated or recalculated annually to determine the number of seniors ages?
No. So what happens is just like Julie shared with you before, our federal census data, the Formula Fund grant is based on the federal census data. 2020 data was not provided to the communities until probably about 2023. With that being said, we are members of the Massachusetts Council on Aging, and they advocate for us to get additional dollars per older adult in the communities. When I first started, I believe that dollar amount was $12 an hour, and then it went to $14, $15, and now we're at $16 per older adult. So that's 3,027 older adults within the 3 towns. Multiply that times $16, and I believe it's around 48,382, somewhere around there. I'm off a little bit with the last 3 years.
432.
Thank you.
Is what you put in your form.
Pretty close. So I think, for the Formula Fund grant, that comes annually, dependent on the governor's budget. If the governor decides that she's going to reduce that and only drop it down to 15. But this year, MCOA just asked for a status quo, no increase, and they have that in the governor's budget. As long as that passes, going into fiscal 27, we will be getting that dollar amount. I hope that's detailed. Sorry, I'm trying to do it by memory.
Yep, that works.
You're welcome.
So we've got the formula grant that we just get because of the number of people
Older
that we
adults.
have.
Yep.
We have
And
the service incentive grant, which is
that is something that we apply for. So when I first started, we were doing an outreach. It was given to the rural communities. I think year 2,
I
the-
remember it went from
It went
non-competitive
from
to competitive.
non-competitive to
Yeah.
competitive. So now we have to apply for that.
And you have to
So-
apply every year for that?
So they capped it now, instead of being $13,135 or 13,135.05 cents that we were getting. You can now only get a cap of $10,000. So,
Oh.
because we were able to offset some of the outreach coordinator's salary with the PVTA grant previously, I applied for the $10,000 visibility outreach it's kind of all in the same particular category. So we were able to utilize that for the postcard mailings that we did to advertise and market all of our community forums that we posted, the walkthroughs for 112, as well as our agent dementia friendly work, that action plan that we're trying to get folks to come and view publicly on April 21st. So that is something we have to actively apply for annually. So I've been applying for different grants. I think last year we applied for that as well as a movement class, but we were declined on the movement class grant. So that's why the line item, was pushed forward and asked for by it was mostly advocated by the seniors. So yeah, and that class is full. There's like an average of 20 people, 3 days a week. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but I would say an average of 20 older adults.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Some people in the audience are saying more.
Unrelated to grants and fund, I'm just curious that between the two sites,
7 sites.
Is it trash removal?
Oh, between those two.
Is a $12,000 difference? It's $12,000 more in Sunderland?
It's actually different. So that includes a janitorial cost increase, which right now we're around, let's see, if you look at where we're at now, it's around, I'd say $5,600, $6,000, but we increased it as well as adding in the trash fee. They come remove the trash. We hire a private company to do that. The town doesn't just automatically do that for us. So that increased there. On the 22 Amherst, going over to 112 Amherst Road, based on previous tenant information, the dumpster cost is about $400 a month. And then we would also have to increase janitorial services, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to clean 7 bathrooms every day. So they would come in twice a week. We got a quote from the current company that we utilize, but obviously we can go out to, seeking additional services that might be less expensive. But for number purposes and for the budget, I wanted to have a clear cut quote. You're welcome. And also, if you notice on 22 Amherst, we went up on our snow removal because we burned through our snow budget this year, I think in less than a month. Yeah, but at 112 Amherst Road, they will be doing this. If we move forward with that location, they will be doing all the landscaping as well as all the snow removal. We currently pay for snow removal, and they pay for landscaping at 22 Amherst.
So the trash and janitorial went up from 55.68 to 74.40. So you added trash?
We added trash because we were using that from the other budgets, and it just wasn't going to work out.
Okay.
So we were trying to cover it with the carry forward funds and then everything else. So we added it into the actual budget, because sometimes you wing it. Not always, but from the Fund 291, because we were getting additional monies from the grants that were covering the salary cost. So I was able to supplement from Fund 291. And I don't want you to think that I'm winging everything by any means. It's just that sometimes, you have extra funding in one where you're not putting that in front of the town. So I was trying to offset that by taking it out of the town's operating cost. But at this point in time, I can't cover it under the Fund 291.
So the total budget, just the budget that's presented, is a 22.17% increase. And then because of the change in our percentage, our increase is 31.94, 32%. So it's like an extra 9% is caused by that change.
Do you have, I know that you probably presented this when you did the big program a couple of weeks ago, but do you have an number of participants from last year to this year? I know that there's been a dramatic increase in participants, and of course, your budget has to accommodate that. So what has the increase been over the last year?
You have that with you? Julie, do you have that packet that I gave you?
I have this thing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's on the website.
So this is just a breakdown. This is not a comparison to the entire fiscal year. But let's see. All right. So for calendar year 2025, so January 1, 25 through 12/31, we increased our membership to 756 members as we had an increase in 122 members from calendar year 24 to calendar year 25, because that's how I do the annual town reports. I do it by calendar year. So of those new members, 51 reside in Deerfield, 26 reside in Sunderland, 18 reside in Whately, and 24 reside in surrounding communities. The residency for our total active members during 25, 365 reside in Deerfield, 168 reside in Sunderland, 88 reside in Whately, and 131 reside in surrounding communities. So we also have 559 members attended events 14,119 times, attending 1,358 individual events. So like sometimes we have those and we'll duplicate them, like the movement classes 3 days a week, but it's still the same program. 35 members received over 346 rides in our van. 126 members received 814 services and referrals. 477 members receive an email copy of our newsletter 6 times. 303 members received a mailed copy of our newsletter 6 times, so an email. 448 members received biweekly email updates 26 times. And more than 253 members made calls requiring support over 1,240 times. That number is actually low because sometimes we get so busy we don't log every single call. But we have worked with My Senior Center, which is the database company, to track those. So now we're trying to do quick trackers. So meaning if someone from the community just calls me up and I don't have them in the system as a member, they're still getting a service. So sometimes we have people who will call up randomly and say, hi, I'm new to this community. Where do I find X, Y, and Z? Or I need support. Who do I call? We give them life paths information, or we give them the Franklin County Sheriff's Office Triad unit for different medical equipment and, other resources within the community. And we get more of those calls than we track. You could check our phone logs. That would probably be more accurate. So we've had over 16,557 times someone is connected with our office. In addition to our members, we get guests. People who come in multiple times, they don't want to sign up to be a member. They just want to come in, enjoy a program, and be on their merry way. We've had over 531 guests, age 60 and over, and 30 guests under 60. So they've attended the Senior Center for various programming that we've offered throughout the calendar year. Some of those guests end up becoming members, but because they weren't a member at the time, we can't go back and give them credit because we don't always know when those folks are, joining. Does that answer your?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Sorry.
For elaborating.
I tried to get more info.
I was just trying to get to the percent increase in memberships and, to try to see how that equates to the percent increase in your budget request. There was a 19% increase in your membership between calendar year 24 and 25.
Yeah.
And what's the total budget?
22%.
22%.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of
In the ballpark.
ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we've, before I started, they had this database, but they weren't using it to its fullest extent. But I will share that the membership number was only 262, and we are now over 750. So we're doing the work. We're getting visibility out there. People are coming, and it's word of mouth, or it's postcard mailings that we've been doing. It's finding out, what we do. A lot of people will be like, hey, they meet their neighbors or whatnot, and come and bring people. And we are just expanding, which is wonderful. So yeah.
You accept people from other towns that are not member towns, right? And
Correct.
they pay a fee?
No, because so unless they're taking a class that requires a fee, we do not charge, because our seniors also senior center hop. So a lot of our seniors will go to Irving if they like something, or Northampton or Hatfield or Hadley. So there's really no way to quantify that data. I mean, we do track who our members and what town they do reside in and whatnot, but a lot of them don't have active senior centers. So like we get folks from Conway, we get folks from Leverett. There's no senior center building, in their community. So they're members of our center as well as others. And sometimes people will who come will make a donation monthly. I have one member who lives in another town who sends a check every month for $20, to cover different things. So yeah, because otherwise then we would also get a bill for our seniors going to other communities to take their classes. Yeah. And we've talked about that at our Board of Oversight meetings, that if we ended up, having a class where it's $5 for a senior, or for a South County resident, maybe we bump it to $7 for someone who doesn't live in South County that does have an active center. So like if someone from Greenfield were to come down, they've got an active center, maybe we're going to charge them $7 versus $5.
Is there any legal language about that? Like, are we required not to charge, or is it that's just a policy from the?
So just about every senior center that you go to, because the state is giving you money for older adult, there's no need to charge for a membership. I know,
but is there a legal thing where the state says, since I'm giving you money, you may not, or is it a policy? I'm just interested.
I think it's more policy, because, we do pay a membership fee to join the Massachusetts Council on Aging.
Okay.
So, that comes out of our formula fund, but their advocacy has gotten us up to from $12 to $16 per older adult. And they also help with the grants. They offer the grants and we participate in those. We also go to different workshops that are offered, and free stuff, like virtually the staff can take part in, that are open to us, that really help to benefit.
Jim, go ahead.
Well, this is sort of expanding on that. You mentioned that some of the outlying communities, as you call them, don't have active senior centers of their own. Are they still getting formula fund funds?
They do. The bare
Can we get some of that?
No. The reason being is that it's so when that money goes to the community, it's up. So like if they have a council on aging, so like we have 3 councils on aging that are not active. Well, Whately's pretty active. They mail birthday cards and do some other things, and they get a line item from their town. But per se, Leverett, for example, they get a small stipend from the state because it's like there's a bare minimum that the state gives you, and I can research that because I just go based on if you're over a certain amount of older adults, you get the 16. If you're under, you get like a bare minimum from the state. Because otherwise you'd get like nothing. I know Conway offers a foot clinic and covers that in full to their seniors, as well as they do like holiday meals and other things like parties monthly and things.
So they're doing stuff.
Yeah, they're doing stuff. They just don't have a space that someone, that you can host things at like on a regular basis. I don't know what Leverett does, to be honest. I haven't talked with Judy Faunch in a while about that.
And depending on where you live, like in Conway, you might go to the Shelburne, Buckland one, or, some. My mom came down today to a function in Whately for the senior center. So it just depends on kind of where you're at and what's going on.
Anybody else? More questions? Nope. Okay, so we have a motion and second on senior center expense 541-5420 for $140,432. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous.
All those in favor, select board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye.
So even though we don't have it in front of us, I do have a question about the other building. So there's gonna be, like we already said, there's gonna be a warrant article to add the whatever you told us, the 103 something or other. Do you know what the timeline is for needing those funds? Cause yeah.
So during discussions with the owner of the property, we were trying to determine if we should ask for more or less in our budget proposal, and we got draft information because obviously we have to go through an RFP and all of the other legal processes. So if this all passes at all three towns, this is just, going with that happening, we would be charged $10,000 total. We would still be able to use the 22 Amherst Road space, and they would do all the work and everything on the other space. So we would basically be paying $10,000 for both spaces
A month.
until starting July.
Okay.
So instead of asking for the full dollar amount, of the $10,000 plus
Plus the rent at your current place.
the renovation fee or the built-in cost
Okay.
part increase and our rent, we would pay $10,000. That would include 22 Amherst Road and, while they're working on that other space. And then ballparking 3 months of us not being in that other space. So if they start work in July or however the process, July, August, or October, we should hopefully be in there in October, November, because the goal is to get the main floor all situated. And if they needed to do renovations on the bottom floor or the top floor, we could still use that main floor. So hopefully we would be able to be out of the 22 Amherst Road location. That makes sense?
It does, but it's more than 10,000 a month, right? It's
No, the $10,000 a month would include, so
no, but what's in the budget is more
Right.
than 10,000.
what's in the budget is the full dollar amount
Cover
of
the
so, like,
renovations.
the rent of the base rent of 10,000 plus the built-in costs. So like calculating at the 20-year, I think we were at $3,300 a month. I'm going
Yeah.
by memory. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly. I don't have that in front of me.
That's okay.
So we wouldn't be paying like our $1,950 a month, or it would be up to just under $2,000 once the July 1 hit because of the 2.5
Right.
escalation. So we would just pay a total of 10 grand. That's it. 10 grand a month. We would not be paying those renovation charges, the additional $3,300
Right.
until we're able to move into the building, like the whole use of the
So
building.
that would start, okay.
So that would start maybe 3 months, 4 months in. We wouldn't be paying we wouldn't have to pay our $2,000 because that would be
Right.
the $10,000
Yep.
would cover 8,000 whatever for
Yep.
112 and then the 2,000 for 22. Does that make sense?
So you're going to
Just making
pay,
clarifying.
yeah, so I'm going to say it again, just to make sure I understand.
Yes.
So you're going to, starting July 1, assuming this all passes, you start paying 10,000 a month.
Correct.
Whenever the building is ready, you're going to move into the first floor. They're going to keep renovating upstairs and downstairs. Whenever all of that is ready, you'll move into those spaces as well.
Correct.
At some point, you're going to start paying some bigger number for, I don't
The
know.
14,000 or whatever.
14,000.
Yeah, just go with 14.
So at some point, you'll start paying 14,000. When is that?
When all of the build out renovations that we have asked for are done.
Okay.
So
there's
meaning
gonna be some period, 6 to 8 months maybe,
Less.
where you'll be,
that we'll be
less.
paying less. Yeah.
where you'll be paying less.
We just don't know when that will be. So we wanted to make sure to ask for everything. It's better to ask for it all and then decrease
Right.
it than it is to not have enough.
So
And
you're,
we could use it as a carry forward. So next year's budget would be a less of an ask.
okay.
I have a follow-up question to that, Julie, if I may.
Go for it.
I'm wondering if we can take the 16,000 or whatever that we'll save and offset the capital purchase for the new furniture or something with that. I think we've got a capital request for 32,000. So, you know, the money that we would be saving for those first 4 months could offset the capital potentially.
Well, I'm just going to say, I don't know what the architect has, determined how long it will be. So until we have a number, I'm happy to move things around or however things get done and to decrease. I just don't know. It could be 3 months. It could be less. It could be 4 months. It could be more. I couldn't tell you.
That's a good thought. Like, with capital, you apportion a certain amount of money, but, if we can take that savings and put it towards the capital, then, we don't expend the full 30 something or, whatever. You could put that, and then just let the rest roll over.
I think what we should do for this is keep the budget amount the same. But, maybe in the operational budget for 2027, put a certain portion towards the furniture expenses. Like, I don't know, like 16K or whatever. And then what we could do is pull the rest out of capital. If you move in early, we'll pull more from stabilization. If you move in later, then we pull less from stabilization.
So
And
if
yeah.
we were to go for just for say 4 months, so 4 times $3,400 is, what is it? Is it like 16? Sorry, I was
4
thinking
times 3 is 12.
4 times 3 is
Yeah,
12.
that would be like 12, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I think 12 would probably be a more realistic number.
Yeah, whatever it ends up being. Well, yeah, you're right. I was kind of ballparking like 4K a month, but yeah, whatever that monthly amount is. And
Yeah.
then,
Because then, but also I just want to remember that the other 2 towns are also paying into that, whatever that dollar is. So it would be a reduction overall for all 3 towns for that cost.
not if we keep the operational budget the same. So if we keep this in like the regular operational budget, the member towns will still be, voting the same number that we're voting. And then we would pull less from capital stabilization, and then they would have a smaller capital amount they would have to raise.
They would also pay.
Benefit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's
Yeah.
even for
Exactly.
everybody.
Yep.
That's all.
Because the capital goes the same way, right? It's 54, whatever.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you look at well, when we get to the capital,
That's
part,
okay.
I have that broken down as to what their each percentage is based on the dollar amount.
Anything else we want to talk about? Senior center related? There's, Jen also handed out the formula grant, a page on the formula grant the last time we were here. Do you guys have that
I didn't get it.
page? It's just interesting to see. We don't need to vote it because it doesn't, like, it's not our problem. But it's interesting to see. So we can see here how the program assistant, the amount you're paying for out
Yeah.
of the formula grant has dropped this year. You don't have that? Do you want?
I don't think everybody was at the table the last meeting, so I think the other 2 towns, Finance Committee, Select Board probably got those packets.
Oh, did?
Oh, because it was a joint meeting and somewhere in the audience.
So I'm the only one and I hogged it and didn't give it to anybody.
Yes.
Oh dear.
We're at our dispersal.
Me and Trevor were both guilty.
I gave all Select Board members that packet on March 23rd.
That's why you don't have all this stuff. I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
I put it on tables.
Yeah.
We weren't significant enough.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you, Ollie.
Thanks, Holly.
I had one. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, that's just the 2026. It doesn't have
Oh, there's
27.
27 on it.
Yeah.
This isn't the right one. You got 27? I think Louise make a copy.
Oh, you're making? Okay. I'll go.
I don't know.
Yeah, what time is it?
6:17.
Oh, gosh. All right.
This is the
We're pretty close.
fund I was talking about from the state for the formula fund money. So that way you can see where we allocate it to.
We're not close to done, you're right. Because we wanted to do the overview.
Well, I mean, we can do it next week.
Next week, first thing, I guess.
Minimal
Okay.
changes or, but I have like 10 sheets, 7.
Okay. We don't need to vote this or anything, but it's there for your, anybody have any other senior center related questions for Jen while we have her here? No? Yes, thank you. And congratulations on your increase in, yet another increase in attendance at your stuff.
you. We are
Yes.
working hard.
Thank you for everything you do for the seniors.
Thank you very much, Jennifer.
Being one.
Oh, you're not.
I'm there now.
In 5 years, I'll be old enough to attend as a member.
All right. Okay, let's actually spend, we have 12 minutes or something. Oh,
I'm sorry, point of order. I think we have a motion on the floor.
we do?
Yep.
For what?
I think we voted.
Oh, did we already vote this budget? Oh, oh, you haven't. Okay. All right.
Senior center expense?
We voted.
We voted it. You guys voted it too, I think.
Everybody voted it.
Yeah,
600.
Okay.
Fourth passed to 3-0.
We voted the one.
we were unanimous. So.
Oh, yeah. Wow,
Okay,
this hasn't kicked in yet.
all right. So I think we'll spend the last 12 minutes or whatever we have. What do you want to do, Holly?
So
I think let's do just the quick overview. So last week, we asked y'all to go and look at if we decrease the free cash to 200,000, can we get there and what do we have to do to get there? So can you give a summary of thoughts and whatever? And if you have new forms to hand out, we can do those too.
Okay, if you want to pass them out, but we'll ignore everything else and just go to the summary pages.
Okay.
We'll ignore everything else and just go to the summary pages for now. So just as a little preview, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 7 budgets that had some changes to them. Some of them are just, you've already voted the correct number, but we didn't have the paperwork to match. I believe 1, 2, 3 or 4 of them have very minimal changes. So at some point, we need to go back over all of the pages in the front. But the exercise that we were asked to do last week is to go through the general fund revenues and expenditure. So if you go to the last 2 pages, or 3 pages, you have all of your expenditures with the pretty green colors on one, and then the revenues in black and white on the other. So the revenues, we made a few very slight changes. One was reducing the amount of free cash that we were going to hold to $200,000. And then I believe we were within about $5,000. So I ended up increasing one of the local receipts by an additional $5,000 to get our revenues in line. So with hopefully, I have captured all of the changes that we need to discuss. Again, they're mostly very minimal. With everything that we voted so far and placeholders for the senior center at the lower budget amount, because that had not been voted yet, we got within under $1,000. So there was one additional change, which will be discussed very shortly in the next meeting as well, was removing the police cruiser capital item from the operating budget and putting the police cruiser into the capital improvement plan. So that's a discussion that still needs to, that has been, so 73,000 for the police cruiser has been removed from this budget. So that is one of the changes that is still sort of needs to be discussed and is up in the air. But if we do that, then we are able to get everything for the omnibus budget into what we currently have available, reducing free cash to 200,000 holdover.
No capital.
No capital. There is no capital. The decision will zero capital.
No snow and ice. Well, no, snow and ice.
It looks like snow and ice was updated, right?
Snow and ice, what we are hoping to do is to have, so snow and ice, we are estimating will be overspent by 130,000. I am hoping that there will be a $20,000 savings. Granted, if we do not get that storm tonight and that ice tonight into tomorrow and have to go out and sand and salt again, please. We will have to cover 110,000. I think I will be able to come up with 20,000 as a reallocation, a budget amendment from another line item, but we would need to raise the 110 or take the 110 out of free cash to cover that.
What other, so you moved the police cruiser, you put in snow and ice. We changed the revenues that you already talked about. Anything else change? Oh, assessor.
So there is a new budget sheet for the assessors department. We were anticipating that there would be an overlap for the assessors. And right now, we are no longer anticipating an overlap.
So there's what, like 20,000 there that,
Or the way I might put it is we're expecting the overlap to happen in FY26, so in June. So currently there is a job posting out there for the principal assessor position. Our current assessor assistant will be retiring effective July 30th or June 30th rather. And so we're hoping to have a few weeks of overlap in June.
any other changes that you all included?
Well, first of all, great job. You know, it looks like if we, looks like we can still run the town if those overrides don't go through, which is good. The bad thing is we, in about 5 minutes here, we'll be updating our projected spend out of the capital stabilization fund. It's gonna be over 200,000, I think, or somewhere around there. So like, we're definitely going to be rating the capital stabilization fund, and I would just hope that if we do end up fixing this structural shortfall with SCEMS, we can replenish capital stabilization with some of that free cash. And then we really do need to stuff that cruiser back into the operational budget next year if we can swing it, or start appropriating enough for capital to be able to take on a police cruiser every year. So it's good that we're going to get through it, but I'm kind of nervous about what happens, for capital this time next year.
Yeah,
No,
if we
did-
spend the whole capital fund.
Back in the fall, using this year's certified free cash, we did fund, I think we funded $200,000 from free cash for various general government capital requests. And I'm wondering, it's too early to ask, but I'm wondering if any of the capital requests before the committee now could potentially wait until fall again with next year's certified free cash.
I can think of maybe like one or two. We'll see in a few minutes.
Speaking of free cash, it kind of looks like we're using about 1.2 million roughly of our certified free cash this year to fund recurring expenses. I could be way off, but if I just subtract the couple of things that we don't consider recurring, like snow and ice, for example, it looks like we're using well over $1 million. So yeah, something's going to have to We're gonna have to try to call attention to that.
Anybody want to talk about anything else? Good. Any other thoughts on that? I don't feel like we have enough time to go through any of these, so we'll just start with this next week when we meet. Thank you for pulling that together and bringing it back. Go Holly, yay.
5:30 next week.
5:30 next week. Right here. Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all those in favor? Unanimous?
Motion to adjourn select board.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Again. I don't think that can go in much farther.
Up until in library.
Yes, please.
And make
Yeah.
sure that
Oh, yeah, I will.
because we reduced the bottom line, but then when I made the changes, it didn't quite work out. I just want to make sure that formula carries to the.
Yeah, they have.
Thanks for this.
Something like that,
Something
yeah.
Weird. I just want to make
I'll
sure
take a look
that
before the next meeting.
it's
Yeah.
within there.
Thanks for all the work. It's just, I know it's the craziest time of the year, but really appreciate it. Is Brenda still stopping in? It was an extra one, yeah. Is Brenda still popping in once in a while? Or she done? Yeah, yeah. Oh, she did? She out riding a horse yet? You ask her if she's riding a horse yet? Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. True. That's fantastic news. Yeah, yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, and then the first Monday.